Hey, that's still on.
Huh?
That mic is still on.
What do you mean? Wait a minute. It is the camera mic. Why does it not have a... Oh.
Call the meeting to order. Roll call. Ms. Elizabeth Parker. Present. Pamela Matherly. Present. Daryl Crusoe. Here. Chair's here, and Don Alsop, I believe, is on his way. Item 2, consideration and possible vote to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. All right, thank you. Pamela?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Daryl?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Item 3, consideration and possible vote to approve the September 14, 2020 board meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Daryl?
Yes.
Pamela?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
And chair votes yes. Item 4A, ACT president comments. Not here? Okay, moving on to item... Is she here? Oh, there you are, Amber. Sorry.
Good evening. Can you believe that we're coming up on the end of the first 9 weeks? I don't know of a single teacher that has not worked harder this year than ever before. Saying that, I also want to recognize that we are very strong together. ACT and our board has always worked extremely well. I hope tonight is no different, no matter what the outcome of this evening. I stand before you tonight, as I do every month, representing over 200 teachers and administrators in our district. So when I say members, I'm speaking on behalf of a wide variety of educators, from pre-K to high school teachers. It also covers teachers that are in the classroom and teachers that are edge. From polling our teachers and members, I can say with certainty the overwhelming majority, 74.3%, are very disappointed regarding the presentation of the new plan this evening. This may actually be an understatement on disappointed. Throughout the summer, ACT worked tirelessly with administration to create a plan that would work for our district. Surveys were sent, compromises were made, and arrangements were created for various situations, and the teachers got to come back to work. Now that plan, the board-approved plan, is up for scrutiny. Numbers of COVID cases in Choctaw are still high, and the fear is still felt and very real in the hearts and minds of teachers. With our current board-approved plan, social distancing is possible and quarantines are at a manageable level. Teachers just fear that the new plan will make this near impossible. Another item I have been asked to speak upon this evening is the fact that teachers are now being asked to return to the building on Wednesdays. With a previous plan, teachers were encouraged to complete tasks from home and come only to the building if necessary. This was a day of deep cleaning. There have not been any changes to validate this new requirement. Bringing staff in on this day defeats the purpose of deep cleaning and frankly is disheartening to many teachers that feel punished and not treated as professionals. The word flexibility has been overused since March. Teachers, especially in our district, have done absolutely everything that they can do to make learning happen for every student. Think of the number of teachers being flexible to leave their own classroom to accommodate edge students. This is flexibility. Think of the teachers using their own time to learn new educational platforms like MobyMax, Edmentum, ExactPath, Calvert Learning. This is flexibility. Think of the teachers that have used their own personal devices to be able to communicate more effectively with students via Google Classroom, Google Meets, and Zoom. This is flexibility. What about the teacher that sacrifices family time at home to research new innovative ways to teach through distance learning? This is flexibility. Can we really ask for teachers to be flexible on their health and safety, or will they break? In closing, please remember this. Teachers are working harder than they ever have before because of distance learning. But yet, a strong majority still want to continue with the schedule we are on because that, as educators, is what is best for the safety of our kids and our staff right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber. Moving on to item 4B, comments from the floor regarding agenda items. If y'all don't mind, I'll just stand so I can make sure everyone can hear me. We had the sign-up list. We're going to start in the order that they were signed up on. I would ask that, I know this is a highly emotional topic that we're discussing this evening, but please could we comport ourselves in a respectful and courteous manner. That's all we ask, and I've known a bunch of you in this room for a long time, and I know that's the way it'll be. So we will start with Rhonda Rodriguez. 2 minutes.
Good evening. I would like to start off by saying that as both a teacher from Midvale and a Choctaw mom from this very building, I wholeheartedly understand the significant challenges that the hybrid plan has placed on many families, and that in-person learning for many students is what's best. However, when each and every one of us chose our particular option, it was based on doing so within a given set of safety parameters laid out in the district's return to learn plan. Mr. Reed's email, dated September 25th, said that the community of Choctaw had a transmission rate of 60.95 per 100,000 residents, which is almost 11 per 100,000 into the zone of being classified as a red zone. This literally means that if going just off of the community rather than the county as a whole, the school would have moved to solely online instruction. And yet here we are, talking about a move to all in person. We all made our decisions based on this given set of parameters, and to this point they've all been upheld. However, changing the parameters without reopening the option for choice is taking the option away from parents like me that want their student in school receiving some teacher assistance, structure, and social interaction, while balancing the smaller class sizes that allow for greater social distancing and safety for my high-risk student. I personally feel as though making these changes to the parameters is both negligent and unfair. We were all told that whatever decision we made for our child's education based on those parameters, we were doing so, making a commitment for the first term. I feel as if we had to make a commitment for the time period, then so should the district. We trusted the district and its employees to maintain a safe environment for our children to learn. But in an email from Mr. Reed, those to notify us of this proposal, he stated that with larger class sizes, there would be an enhanced risk of exposure if anyone tests positive. This is a given. And it attests to me that by making this recommendation is knowingly putting our children and our families at an even greater risk, thus not putting the safety and well-being of our students first and foremost. All is it over? Okay. So
Just make a final statement.
that's all I am asking, is to reopen that option so that we still have a choice.
Thank you. Thank you, Rhonda. Grace Maples? Grace Maples?
Hello, my name is Gracie Maples and I am a senior at Choctaw High School. Both my parents graduated from Choctaw and I am very grateful that I get to as well. As a student in the Choctaw and Cone Park School District, I am so thankful that our district has given us options to go by our learning path so that we can make the best decision for ourselves and our family. That being said, I am fully in support of transitioning to a 4-day learning week. First, from seeing what students are doing with their time spent not at school, I know many groups of students are gathering outside of school. Students are coming together with no mask or any form of social distancing. I believe that going back to school almost full-time can help to decrease the amount of time students spend with each other outside of school, with no social distancing enforced. Second, from my own experience, I know that once you get out of an everyday routine, it is something very challenging to get back into. I feel that this schedule has caused students to become uncreative, unambitious, unenthusiastic, uninterested, and overall unstructured with their work and studies. And lastly, we have kids stuck at home. Abuse is at an all-time high, and if we don't get back into school soon, the gap is just going to keep getting bigger. Thank you, and I hope you vote in favor of the proposal that allows us to get back to full-time learning.
Thank you, Gracie. Natalia Clark?
I'm a mom of 7 children. I have a senior currently at the high school, and I was the PTO president at Choctaw Elementary School, so I am an avid volunteer. I want you to know that I am concerned about the risk that we are putting our students, but mostly our teachers in. I want you to know that I do not feel that they have been given the opportunity to seriously have their risks taken into consideration. We have teachers that are not only in high-risk situations personally, but they have family members that they are in constant contact with that are high risk. I do think that children need to be in school. As a mom, I want you to know it's kind of chaos. That is not putting my own feelings aside. I would love to send my kids to school every day. I honestly feel that way because we have amazing teachers here at Choctaw. But I feel that we do not know all of the risks that COVID presents. And while we know some of the short-term risks, we don't know long-term risks. So even if our teachers who are high risk do get sick but recover, we don't know what that means for them in 5 years. We don't know if their lung capacity ever does return to normal. I feel that we are putting some of these things aside, and I almost feel like it's a high schooler coming home from school saying, "Mom, everybody else is doing it. Why can't I?" And as a mom, you say, "Suck it up. We've got different rules. I'm not going to let you go do X, Y, and Z just because your friends are." I know that we're comparing ourselves sometimes to schools that have problems or are smaller or bigger than us. But again, I don't think we have a full view of what these risks are. I do think some of my concerns are classroom separation. If we have the full class back to capacity, how are they going to separate themselves? I know that my son has said that it's not going to be possible. I also think that the timing is very poor. Not only are we hitting flu season, but we are coming up on social distancing events and sickness season. So combine it all together, and I think we are going to have some poor results. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Lindsay Smith.
Hi, thanks for letting me speak this evening. My name is Lindsay Smith, and I'm a teacher at Choctaw High School, and I've coached there for 14 years. I'm also proud to say that I'm a third-generation Choctaw alumni, and I'm 100% in support of returning to a 5-day-a-week learning situation. I recognize that there are risks with the return to 5-day plan. And I also understand that these risks are greater for some of my teacher friends than others. But I'm so grateful that we work for a district that has given teachers and students options so that they can do what's best for themselves and their families. Teachers are essential, just like healthcare workers, grocery store employees, daycare workers, and others. We must continue doing what's best for our students and our community. It was once quoted, "Teachers are the single most important profession of the human race." And for all the parents in here, if you didn't already agree with that, I bet you do now. We are called to educate and protect as teachers. In the current situation, the education model isn't working for most, and there are many that are in bad home situations, and they need our protection now more than ever. We have dealt with risk before: intruders, school shootings, protecting our students during tornadoes, but we continue to show up because we're in the business of kids, and we often put their needs before our own. When school started, I had high hopes that the hybrid schedule would work and that our students wouldn't fall behind. But instead of the kids finding a groove and settling in like I hoped, their grades are getting worse and they are engaging less and less. I not only see this in their schoolwork, but in their mental and emotional well-being also. Bringing the students back full-time is what's best for their development and their future. If you look at the 20 school districts closest in size to us, over 75% of them have returned their brick and mortar students to 4 or 5 day a week learning. If they can do it safely and figure it out, I know that Choctaw can, because after all, we're better at almost everything, than the rest of those districts. So I just ask that we support our school board, and we support our administration, and that we pull together and make this work for our students.
Thank you, Lindsay. Carolyn Herman.
What's the name again, Jenna?
Carolyn Herman.
You'll have to forgive me, I don't have a prepared speech. I'm just a concerned parent. I'm concerned that we're trying to come back too soon. I'm concerned that the schools aren't ready or able to keep the distancing and the protection that the children need. These kids not only bring this COVID back home, but it affects the family as a whole. If my husband was to catch this COVID because my son is inadvertently exposed, which we have already gone through a small portion of this already, we would be devastated. We are a 2-income home. We cannot afford to lose one of those incomes. We would lose our home if he gets exposed and cannot work. I'm asking for you to reconsider and think about waiting at least until the end of this semester before we try to pursue this, in hopes that the healthcare will come up with better ways or more secure ways of dealing with this disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Quade Kohler.
sixth grader at Choctaw Middle School. Because of COVID, I didn't get to finish my last year at JJ, and I never got to say goodbye to my teachers there. When school started again this year, I didn't get to walk through the building and see where everyone was, so I was pretty confused on my first day, and it's hard going through something new all by yourself. I wish that we could go back to school, and here are a few reasons why. First, I don't think we're learning everything we should be, because we're not in the classroom, and the teachers can't explain things to us, help us work out problems, or answer extra questions we may think of while learning new things. Virtual assignments are hard because you don't always know what to do, and it's hard to ask questions for email. I've always been an A student, but I've had several bad grades so far this year, because I didn't understand the assignment or missed an assignment, because not everyone can send in the classroom. Another reason virtual assignments are not good is because it's too easy to just look up the answers to get finished fast. When the students look up the answers online, they're not actually learning anything. My mom tries to help me when I have questions, but she also has to spend a lot of time talking to my little brother, because he's still learning to read. Sometimes his virtual assignments take all day, and my mom runs out trying to help. It should be taught by teachers in the classroom when they learn best. My first year in middle school is not long, and we're missing out on a lot of new and fun things, but our education shouldn't be like this. It'll be hard for some kids to reach their life goals without a good foundation. Education is very important. It's very important to our futures. Please let us go back to school. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gwen. Travis Simmons.
Good evening. My name is Travis Simmons. I have two children in CMP, one at Como Park Middle and one at Choctaw High School. My junior year at Choctaw High School, they both started in because I have high risk, 20-year military veteran, and I have some illnesses, and I felt to be best. Also, so does my son. Anyway, we started there, and it was very difficult, I'm just going to be honest. So we struggled with it for about 2 weeks before we made the decision to put him back in school based off the option that was given of remaining on the hybrid system. So now that we made the decision, we were told we can't go back. So now all of a sudden, this new proposal is very upsetting. The rest of my questions, I'm not going to go stats in like everybody else. With the shortage of substitutes available, as you proposed and stated in an email, what plans do you have for quarantining when it goes into effect for us, when it hits a class, and they have to split the class up? Are we going to make other classes bigger for the ones in our quarantine, make the spider web that much bigger? Online isn't effective for a lot of people, according to you guys' stats, and I agree. My son doesn't have to roll a beat this whole school year. This year he got a C. But with that being said, I think because we think all of our kids are college, ready for preparing for college. College is doing well. So I think, I'm only speaking for the upper to secondary school, but I think this is preparatory. If they're not doing it online now or without the teacher being present, that's what's going to happen in college. So this is just a fairly showing, in my opinion. But my final question is, Mr. Reed, what is your concrete bottom line ratio if you do go to 45 weeks? I mean, I know you said orange 1 and orange 2 is the ratio. Okay, I'm not time to finish it up. I know we got to be
We're not taking questions.
45 days. What is the ratio? What is going to be the bottom line? That's my final question.
Questions will have to be answered later. We're just hearing comments tonight. Thank you, Travis. Mark Kessner.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to come speak to the board. I come not only as a parent, I have 2 children who are at Westfall, but also as an educator and someone whose life has revolved around education. So both of my parents were teachers. I have 3 siblings who were teachers. My wife is a teacher. I was a teacher. Both my degrees are in teaching. Once I got into private business, we've hired 5 people that used to work as teachers with former students. So I care very deeply about education. And I certainly acknowledge the risk that present with this. There's no doubt that there is risk and that that's something that we will have to face. We're fortunate that so many schools around the world, around this country, and over 500 schools in Oklahoma have gone back with 5-day-a-week learning. And I certainly acknowledge that some people are afraid that there are things that are afraid of the unknown with the risk that's with this. But there are also things that are known. And one of the things we know is that this model does not work. We've got 100 years of research, we've got 100 years of best practices to know people learn in person, especially with children. The younger you go, the more critical it is. I think it's very important to acknowledge that all our teachers will face that risk. It's also important to know that these students won't even have the option. Some of these students, this is a sentence of failure. The students that are being most affected by this are not going to be my children who have educated parents, but they're going to be the students who are disadvantaged. They're going to be the students who have a difficult homework. They're going to be the students who already will be behind scholastically. By not being in class, we're putting them in a position where they're going to fail. And while safety is very important, and we hear safety first, as an organization, there has to be a mission. And mission is to educate first. And so if we're not reaching the kids, that has to be addressed. So I would hope that we would go back as quickly as possible to the 5-day.
Ava Plumley.
I just spoke to her mother. She's via text. She's still on her appointment.
Okay, we'll go on with Hannah Duckworth.
Good evening. My name is Hannah Duckworth, and I am a sophomore at Choctaw High School. I wanted to talk to you tonight about in-person learning from a student's perspective. When COVID changed the way school would be structured, my parents asked would I rather be in school 5 days a week or virtual online. My answer was easy, in person. I was glad those of my fellow students had the option for virtual if that is how they learn best or if they were super concerned with COVID. Fast forward to right before school starts and the hybrid module was decided. Personally, I am not a good virtual learner, and despite my awesome teachers putting in wonderful effort, it is not my ideal way of learning. And I know many other students who feel the same way. We are all falling behind. We are having to essentially teach ourselves on the day we aren't in school, and our teachers are tied up teaching the opposite team when we have questions and concerns. The mental toll of online school has affected close friends of mine whose anxiety and depression have worsened since hybrid and left them feeling hopeless when it comes to their schooling. I even witnessed my younger brother cry over schoolwork and missing his friends. Abraham Lincoln once said, "Upon the subject of education, I can only say that I view it as the most important subject which we as the people may be engaged in. It is hard to be engaged through a computer screen. My education and learning is being hindered by only being in person 2 days a week. I realize COVID is real, but I also realize it's not magically going away anytime soon, and that our district and schools have done an amazing job at keeping us safe and will continue to through 4 and ultimately 5 days a week. In fact, some of our most medically fragile children have been going to school within this district 4 days since school began with little to no COVID transmissions. School is essential. Teachers and students are essential. And I feel completely safe being back to school all masked up or even in a hazmat suit. That's what gets me there full time. Some teachers have been surveyed and parents have been surveyed, but I want to speak on behalf of students. We want to be back in school, and those who do not have the option of the wonderful EDGE program. The ultimate goal has always been getting back in the classroom full time, and the longer we wait, the harder it will be to make happen. Thank you for your time, and please consider voting in favor of this proposal. Thank you.
I take it Ava has not made it yet. Is there anyone else that would like to speak, a student in Ava's slot? Anyone? An adult? Well, yes, it would be for staying with the hybrid. You would like to speak your name, ma'am?
Allery Davis. Allery? Right, I'm teachers that teach my mask all day, you guys don't see to wearing it.
Okay. Did you get your name? Ellery.
Can you all hear me through my mask? Okay.
Stay close to the mic.
Very close. All right. My name is Allery. It's A-L-A-R-I-E Davis. Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I just want to say thank you for opening it up one more time. I'm going to read my paper just because there's a lot of people and I'm nervous. All right, and thank you for offering us the opportunity to speak. From the beginning of the conversations and questions about how schools should reopen in August, I sympathized with the fact that administrators would be facing backlash regardless of their final decisions for the school year. The public will either accuse superintendents and their boards of being overreaching or irresponsible. There is a vast chasm of opinions from all members of our community, and I hope that the public realizes the long hours that are spent by you and our board to try and accommodate the needs of all students when making these unprecedented decisions. The voices of parents and teachers requesting a return to 5-day in-person instruction are strong. They have a presence in school board meetings and are organizing action committees on social media. Their reasons for the request are certainly valid. I think of elementary students who are in daycare 5 days a week and only receive educational instruction 2 days a week for the in-person setting due to the financial burdens facing those students' families. Those students are better off in 5-day in-person instruction. I think of my own middle school Algebra 1 students and their parents probably sitting down at the dining table painstakingly working together late at night because that's the only time anyone is available between work and extracurricular activities. And I think of my own son who is in kindergarten this year at Tacoma Park Elementary and the detrimental effects that the hybrid model will have on his academic success in the years to come. Trust me when I say this, I long for the return of 5-day in-person instruction. However, I feel that parents, unless they are also teachers themselves, are not able to empathize with the daunting task that administrators and teachers face if we return to a 5-day week and completely disregard the recommendations from the OSHD. I teach at a middle school level, so my daily operations might vary from those at the elementary and high school levels. I already go through a canister of Clorox wipes that are left over from my previous school years because they are non-existent in stores anywhere. So I go through those between every class period. My desks at best have at least 2.5 feet of space between them for my students on a split model. So basically, I will sum it up because I heard the gavel. The logistics of returning to a 5-day week right now are very impossible. And all of those logistics are going to be dealt with at the site level by the administrators and the teachers. So all we're asking is that you provide us with guidance. If we do end up returning to 5-day, how am I going to social distance my students in the classroom, in the cafeteria, in the hallway, on the bus? How am I going to sanitize my classroom when I can't even find a bottle of Clorox wipes at the store when I go? But anyways, thank you very much.
Thank you, Allery. Thank you, all of you, for being here, and for those that have spoken. Rest assured that everyone on this board shares your concerns. We're all parents on this board. But when we sit on this board, we have over 5,000 children. So just know that we've talked about it, we've thought about it, we've prayed about it, and we want to do what's best for children, not only educationally, but every other aspect of the life and the support that they get in this brick and mortar setting. There's a lot more to it than just education. So again, thank you all. We appreciate it, and we we really thank you for taking the time to come here and speak up. Thank you. We're going to move on to 5A, Superintendent's comments.
Okay, I want to echo what Janice just said. Thank everyone for showing up and telling us how the schedule could or does affect you. As I've stated all along, everybody's opinion is important. Everybody's opinion should be valued. And it's really hard for any of us to judge someone else because we can't necessarily walk in your shoes. So I just hope that whatever is decided, whether the proposal I present or whether the board votes to keep the current hybrid, that we come together as a community, because we're only going to have success when we come together and support each other, regardless of the decision. As far as my comments for the normal superintendent's portion, I'll keep it as brief. We've completed the first quarter of the year. It's definitely been a unique start to the year. Our students, our teachers, our principals, and our parents have been resilient in making the best of a difficult situation. Fall activities have continued to go on. Softball hosted a regional last week. They made it to the last game, the final of the regional. Unfortunately, they lost, and so their season came to an end. Our softball team, our volleyball team plays tomorrow in their regional. Our football team is currently in the middle of their season and doing quite well. Our track team, cross-country track team, has had unprecedented success, so we're excited for all that. Also, our fine arts, AF, JROTC, VOAG, etc., have all found ways to continue on. We've had a choir concert with social distancing taking place. Our drama program is reprogramming and moving things to the second semester. Our VOAG program is still able to attend shows, even having to show animals wearing masks at times, fighting quarantines at times, but they found a way to continue on. So that's exciting. October is National Principals Month. Never as a group of people, just like we say with teachers, been asked to do so much in a quick period of time to adjust and make the best of a bad situation. And our principals and our assistant principals have been amazing. And I just want to commend them and ask that we give our principals and assistant principals a round of applause for all that they do. Our October 1 student count, we're down about 400 students this year. That's roughly 7% of student cut from last year. So that is something that we will have to look at. I know that the board is aware of this. We take the highest of our 3 weighted ADMs, and we're hoping that this year's numbers are never have to be used, because there would be serious cuts that have to be made if there are. But we know this is a unique year. We're hoping the pandemic is gone. Our students return from other programs that they went to, or if they've stayed home at homeschool, that they will want to come back. Just a reminder that you had in front of you an invitation from Mrs. Seagrave's class. They will be discussing their business presentation for their coffee shop. It's an amazing presentation of our special needs students, and I would encourage you, if at all possible, to attend that. And then finally, fall break will be this Friday and the following Monday. Teachers, support staff, principals, again, have put in unprecedented amounts of work this year, and they deserve a restful, safe 4-day weekend. And that's my comments.
All right. Thank you, David. Item 5B, any board member comments? All right, moving on. Item C, consideration and possible vote to approve revisions to the Start Smart Plan.
Okay, that obviously is what we're here to discuss tonight. A lot of folks, and it's good that we have community out to play a part and have their voices heard. The considerations that I took into account before making this was that the first one is always our goal for the 2020-21 school year has been to have in-person learning 5 days a week. At the beginning of the year, we looked at the Oklahoma State Department of Health and the Oklahoma State Department of Education recommendations, and based off of their recommendations, we went with a hybrid schedule. We considered at that time that orange is considered orange, regardless if it's orange 1 or 2. We follow the same protocol. Yellow would put us in 5-day-a-week learning if we had 2 weeks in a row. And then green would be even better and actually remove the mask mandate. We never reached that goal. Since school started, we've had 1 week of yellow, we've had 1 week of orange 2, and all of the rest have been orange 1. On September 18th, 2020, the State Department of Education and the State Department of Health revised their protocols. And in those protocols, they removed the hybrid learning from orange level 1. And that's the area we've been at the most. Our goal was to get back into 5-day-a-week learning. So on my proposal that I've presented to the board, it's that we would return to 5-day-a-week learning, but that we would work into it. The first week that we would come back, we would plan for 4-day weeks for 5 weeks. One of them, the first one, would just be a 3-day week, simply because we have fall break on that Monday. So students would return on Tuesday. Wednesday would remain a virtual day, distance learning day for our students. And they would do the deep cleaning, which is spraying the machine that each of the schools were purchased before the year started, and then would return on Wednesday, Thursday. The following 4 weeks would be Monday, Tuesday, virtual on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday would be for everyone. Then we would hit Thanksgiving break, and then after Thanksgiving break, we would transition into 5-day-a-week learning. Consideration also has been taken into account of when I look at schools, I look at either our surrounding schools or schools in 6A. And most of the 6A schools around are either in-person learning or they're transitioning to in-person learning. The Tulsa area, other than Tulsa Public, is all. I mean, when you look at even in our 6A2, the Bixby, Sand Springs, Sapulpas, all of those are in-person and having success. My mentor, Robert Romines at Moore, has been in all year, and you know, you're not going to stop transmission of COVID. What we found is most of the transmission has happened outside of the school, or what we presume, none of us really knows, presume happens outside of the school. When we get a positive case, we have to contact the Oklahoma City County Health Department, give them the child's name, they do contact tracing and tell us who has to quarantine. Sometimes it's 3 or 4, sometimes it's 15 or 20, sometimes it's an entire team. But what we found on those quarantines is very few of those students who are sent out on contact tracing actually come back positive for COVID-19. So what that tells me is the mitigating procedures that we're putting in, the spraying of the classrooms, the wearing of masks, the social distancing as much as possible, the washing of hands, doing all of those things are working in school. Where they're not working is in the community. And I argued till I was blue in the face with the lady at the county health department on the quarantining that, you know, we should have more of a say in this. And she said, what happens in the community, or what happens in your school gets brought out into the community. And I stressed what happens in the community gets brought into the school. I lost that argument, but I still had it. But school is the one place where we actually have a say and control in what our students are doing. They're actually in class, they're wearing masks, and they're learning. When they're on distance learning days, Kelly Hosford tells me all the time, we can only control what we can control. And what happens in a person's house, if they're spending the night at their uncle's, cousins, grandmas, hanging out at a daycare, going to an amusement park, high school kids going out at parties on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whenever, we can't control those things. But in school, when they're there, we can. And so we're looking at those things. As far as our teachers being exposed, every one of our kids are already in the classroom. So our teachers have already been exposed to every single kid in their class. Now, if they're of a vulnerable population, they're taking mitigating procedures themselves. We've got certain teachers who wear an N95 mask with a cloth mask and a face shield and social distance themselves in the front of their classroom or at their desk. Their kids know, I'm immunocompromised, please make sure you don't come too close to me. The kids are wearing masks, so they're not spraying, you know, the droplets out, which is proven to be the greatest transmission is through the droplets in the air. The mitigating procedures are not asked to be changing. We're going to continue with face masks according to the regulations. We're going to continue with washing of hands. We do temperature checks. The community purchased thermometers for all of our classroom teachers. Everyone has one of those. We continue to spray the classroom. The red level right now still calls for full distance or hybrid learning. So if we were to get to the transmission rate of above 50, which is what the color-coded system calls for, then it actually changes for that week to hybrid. We've also lost nearly 400 students district-wide. I just spoke of that. In our elementary classrooms, the largest classroom in our elementary right now is 22. Our middle schools are down an average of 158.5 students, and our high school is down 78 students. Parents who had concerns of vulnerability, whether it be for their student or their family member, did have the option to be in the EDGE program. We made that available. It will also become available again in December. The reason it's not available right now is because if you're doing transition in the middle of the year, you have to cover it with staff some way. So if we have 30 or 15 first graders or whatever, you don't have the ability to necessarily move staff in the middle of a 9-week or a semester. At Christmas break, we have more time to do that, and families will have time to adjust to that. I already spoke about those. Talk about the transition. Also, one of the main things is that we do reserve the right to call another meeting if things go south. If we see transmission gets crazy, if we see that we just can't have school, we're having to call off 2 or 3 buildings at a time, or 14 classrooms, or something like that, we do have the ability to shut those down. If we have a case where a teacher and most of the kids are out, we have the ability to quarantine just the class for 14 days, or whatever it is the CDC gives us. So we do reserve that right, which is also the right that we reserved at the beginning of the year, because in this situation, in dealing with the pandemic, you're dealing with unknowns. You don't have for certains. You just have to go with the best information you have available at the time and make the best decision you have at the time. I said in the video that I sent out to teachers, and I know it got shared beyond that, that there's not a great answer and a terrible answer on either side. There's just not a no-brainer, and we're ignoring it. Fact is, there's bad and bad. It doesn't fit everyone. There's boats with holes in them, and we've got to do our best to plug those holes and bail the water out until we can get to a solution in this pandemic and get back to doing 5 days a week for our kids. And the greatest thing that I have for making the proposal is for our students. Our students are falling behind. It's evident in the classroom. It's evident to parents. I won't speak for teachers in this case. They may have a different opinion than I do, but I feel like it's evident that they are falling further and further behind. No fault of theirs, no fault of teachers, no fault of parents. It's just the students are falling behind, and we're charged as educators to make decisions on what is best for students. And being in class with a teacher, in my opinion, with mitigating procedures that we have and we're not changing, having those there, I feel like that's the best solution. Therefore, that's why I've made the proposal I made to you about returning to the 4-day, then 5-day, as long as we stay in the orange, yellow, or green.
Do any of you have questions of David? No? Do I have a motion to approve going to the 4-day, Wednesday being reserved as a virtual day, and deep cleaning on Wednesdays?
I'll make the motion we approve.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Make a second.
All right, thank you. Pamela?
Yes.
Daryl?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
And chair votes yes.
Can I just clarify, that's 4 days for 5 weeks, and then the plan transitions to 5. Making sure everybody understands
Should have said,
that.
as he stated.
Just making sure.
If things change, we have the right to
Yes, we do.
come back and
Yes.
Correct.
We always have the right to call a special meeting.
adjust. We have the right to come back and adjust.
Yes.
Correct.
All right. Can I pause right here, and if anyone wants to depart, they can?
Sure.
Yeah. We're going to pause right here, so any of you that don't want to stay here for the Services, we're on 5D. Consideration and possible vote to approve a revision to the 2021 school calendar.
When we moved all of the professional development days and record days before the school started, we actually took the one on the last day of school after kids were finished and moved it to the beginning. And in doing that, that took actually one day of instruction out. So instead of 165, which gets us to the state required 1,080 hours, we only have 164. So we're short. So we needed to add a day. So what we did is we've got 6 snow days built in. The one that we were supposed to take off the first if we use the inclement weather day, I think it's April 30th. It's in the testing window anyways. So it gives us an additional day to test students, the state mandated tested. So what we're asking is that we just make April 30th a regular scheduled school day. That gives us 165, helps us meet the 1,080 hour criteria, and then we're good. So we have to add it somewhere.
Okay.
So moved.
All right. Have a second?
A second.
All right. Thank you. Don?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Pamela?
Yes.
Daryl?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Moving on. 6A, the business services finance report. Kevin?
Well, over here.
Oh, here. Where'd you go?
Not much is really going on as far as finances go for the district. We're going to approve the budget tonight. We had the budget hearing last week. And again, we're down about $2 million from where we were this time last year. We didn't make too many cuts this year because of the uncertainty of COVID and everything else like that. We thought it best. With the edge coming online and so forth, we haven't really looked at anything we need to do. But again, we're going to see what goes on throughout the school year to see what we need to do. As Mr. Reed mentioned, we're down 400 students. That's a pretty good chunk of change. With that, plus state revenues are down, so we're going to get cut hit both ways. Student loss, state aid loss, and other things like that. So we're really going to have to look the second half of the year at some things we're going to have to do for next school year. But other than that, we do have a budget that's been printed. It's out there on our website. All our financial information is there. If anybody wants to look, previous years, I think 5 or 6 years are out there for comparison purposes. Or anybody wants to go to the websites and so forth like that, look, everything's out there. Nothing has changed in this budget from when we had the budget hearings, so I would recommend approval of this budget when you get to that agenda item.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to B, consideration and possible vote to approve encumbrances. Anything you'd like to add to that?
No, just a normal run-of-the-mill stuff that we buy.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I will make a motion that we approve the budget.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Okay. Pamela?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Daryl?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. All right, item C, consideration and possible vote to approve the 2021 budget. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve the 2021 budget.
Second.
Thank you. Daryl?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Pamela?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Item D, consideration and possible vote to approve board sanctioning of booster clubs and PTOs.
What this allows, every year we do a sanctioning of all our booster clubs and PTOs, which basically gives them our approval for them to operate within our district. What this also means is by approving them, they can go out there and operate on their own and not have to run their finances and all their fundraisers and stuff through our activity funds. So it gives us more autonomy to do things they need to do on their own. And we don't have to sit and watch over them all the time. Very popular for these booster clubs to do that. You have the list there, and it's pretty much the same list that was approved last year with the exception of one PTO that didn't have any volunteers to do their PTO, so I'd recommend approval of the sanctioning list.
All right, do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Elizabeth?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Daryl?
Yes.
Pamela?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Item E, consideration and possible vote to approve a standard form of agreement between the CNP schools and Pope Contracting, Inc., naming Pope as the construction manager for the project of renaming the Activities Center on the campus of Choctaw High School.
As you know, we voted to rename the old boards there to the Hearing Back Center, and that requires some changes in lettering and some other things, plus a pavilion. We're hiring Pope right now to act as our construction manager to oversee all the construction and stuff of this pavilion, and the lettering is going on the building. I recommend approval.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion we approve.
All right, the second, please.
Second?
Thank you. Pamela?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Daryl?
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
When will they get started on that? Have they been able to?
They've already started,
Oh.
they may want to address that.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we've met with the construction manager, they were working on the plans. The yellow jacket is going to be bronze. It's a 6-month process in making this thing. There's a lot of welds and a lot of
Yeah.
heated metal that's put on and polished after time and added layers and welds. And anyways, the pedestal is 3 foot tall and Charlie will be 6 foot tall. So altogether, it's 9 foot tall, 750 pounds. It's going to be quite impressive. Quite impressive.
So we'll have a special ceremony when that's all.
Correct, but we're looking 6 months
Yeah.
down the line. At construction time, 6 months,
Yeah.
probably 8 months.
Wow.
I have one other thing to notice,
Okay.
to let you all know. You know, we've been giving out free meals, breakfast and lunches to our kids through December 31st, and it's picking up as we go along. I'm getting some word now that they may extend this all the way through the end of the school year.
Oh,
Some
nice.
guys are coming out today, they haven't had exactly a Zoom meeting on it lately, but that's what I'm hearing now, so that'll be another good thing for us. And we like to feed as many kids as we can as possible. Again, when they're back, if they're back in person 4 days to 5 days, that's gonna be great. We can get them off on the line and not have to charge anybody anything for that.
I hear so many good comments about that.
It is, we're actually taking a few meals out in the community as we see fit. You know, our bus drivers and other people have to make up some time because the Wednesday's on. They're helping to do that, getting food out to the community, these kids, they really don't have a breakfast or meal plan, so. It's good for us and it's good for them, so, again, we'll keep you advised as we go through the process, find out more.
Good. Thank you, Kevin. 7, Student Services, Ms. Hosford.
Good evening. It's good to see you all. I'm just going to take you all through a brief tour of what's been happening in our Student Services Department during the month of October. Our child count is complete. That is where we have to account for all of our students who are on IEPs and turn those numbers in to the State Department. That is a funding source for us as well. We are down 91 students in Student Services this year, so that's part of our 400. I took a tour of CATS a couple of weeks ago, and I'm really excited. My husband and I plan on going over there in the next few weeks to help them serve dinner. Mr. Bonwright tells me that 40 students are on track to graduate right now, and if you have the opportunity, please go by and see the Hall of Fame wall that he is developing. He has all pictures of all his students who have graduated, and it's quite a heartwarming thing to see. In addition, I ran into a former student there, and he looked at me and said, "Mrs. Hosford," and of course I didn't recognize him, baseball hat, beard, all grown up, and he was struggling a bit, and so I said, "I challenge you to earn some credits because you can do this." And I asked Mr. Bonwright to let me know. Well, he's earned a credit since our visit, and he's about to earn another one. And I told Tony and I told the student, I said, "I want to be there when you ring that bell." So I'm anxiously awaiting that work. Mr. Reed told you about the invitation that you have in front of you from the Coffee Shack. This is what Mrs. Seagrave's class does every year to raise money for Special Olympics. And tomorrow, the times that you have on there tomorrow are actually when they do a presentation. They have put a PowerPoint together. They actually speak and tell you the purpose and the reason behind what they're doing. All of these students have jobs, and they take those jobs very, very seriously. And then the shack will be open from 8:35 to 9:10-ish. If you're a little late, they'll still get you a cup of coffee on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They actually typed those invitations for you and learned we're working on that skill, so they're very proud of that. I sent out our first edition of the Hive. If you did not get your copy through email, please let me know, and I will send that out to you. It's just a highlight of everything happening in Student Services. I'm working on our next version. And then just out touring about, I had the opportunity to see our high school students in their living skills area. They were making purple pancakes and scrambled eggs for breakfast. And then I spent some time at Macomb Park Elementary School. And if you have ever had the opportunity to sit down with a little DD 4-year-old and learn sign language and sing with them, it just makes your heart happy. and then spent some time with our autism kids in their centers as well. So in closing, I want to thank all of the teachers and the principals in working on child count. That's quite a process, so I could not do that without them. So I wanted to tell them thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. All right. 7B, consideration and possible vote to approve a revised contract with Today's Therapy Solutions for the school year 2021.
That is a company that provides speech-language pathologists. We have one at Choctaw Elementary and one at Park Elementary at this time. Speech-language pathologists are very, very difficult to find.
Yes, they are. They are. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'm going to approve.
Second it.
All right. Elizabeth?
Yes.
Darrell?
Yes.
Pamela?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Item C, consideration and possible vote to approve an agreement with Larry L. Mullins, Ph.D. for behavioral services for the 2021 school year.
Dr. Mullins is from Oklahoma State University. He is a child behavior specialist. There are times when we have students in our district that we need outside expertise. We need someone to come in and see if there's anything else that they could suggest to us to help get these students on track. And so Dr. Mullins he is quite an expert in this area, because there comes a point in time sometimes when we have to look at if this setting is really what is the best for our students. So he is someone to help us with that.
All right, thank you. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Pamela?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Darrell?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Item 8, instructional services. Dr. Gaona?
Well, I really blew it. I forgot my reading glasses, so
Oh, here you go.
as I'm presenting things about curriculum, you'll get to see how good I am at reading. I'm sorry about that. If I stumble, that's why. I promise that I can read. Our elementary site principals and teacher representatives have worked diligently to ensure that our district report cards reflect our current state standards. This is an ongoing process, but it's really the first time in about 3 years that we've really delved into it and made some significant changes. It required quite a bit of discussion, and we finally concluded last week, so parents will now have access to report cards online, and will also be able to see in grades pre-K through 2 if their child is progressing as expected, using a very nice color-coded graph with green showing that students are exactly where they need to be, yellow showing improvement is needed, and red showing that a student is falling behind. The only exception will be for our virtual students in EDGE, because the curriculum, the online curriculum, is not taught in the same manner as we teach in our in-person classes. It's just a program matter, so they'll receive traditional grades, but they will receive grades. So every year, we'll keep fine-tuning it, and as I've mentioned to the teachers, it will never be completely adequate, because the State Department changes everything every year as well. So we're always just a little bit behind, but we are much closer than we were before. In addition, with upgrades to Power School, which is our student information system and is used to take attendance, record grades, and generate reports, I'll now be able to report monthly to you the number of students at risk in our district, which I think is something important to look at. And also, something that I opened up Power School and I thought, what is this? And I started digging into it a little bit. I'll speak to the principals about it. But what this information will be used to do is to develop an ongoing measurement of how many of our students need assistance and what areas they need assistance. Currently, as of last Friday, October the 9th, 290 students were considered at risk, high risk academically in our schools. This number represents students K through 12 across the district and is determined upon their current earned grades. So it can change and it will fluctuate by week. This also represents 5% of our currently enrolled students. And it's very important that this new feature is available to us. And the hope is that parents and students will now have immediate knowledge of any concerns in relation to grades, attendance, discipline, all of which are considered indicators of increased risk for not thriving academically. So it's really neat that they've done that. It's just made it a bit more robust. And it gives us some data. You know, that's one of the complaints that we've had. We weren't able to test. None of us like testing, I'll be honest with you, but at least it gives us an annual measurement. And this just gives us a little bit more that we can look at on a continuing basis.
Okay, thank you. Item B, consideration and possible vote to approve annual dropout report for 1920 school year.
Well, we had no dropouts last year, not too excited, from the middle schools, which is great news.
Yes.
So we had, because that is one of the measurements that is considered. At the high school, we had 4 ninth graders, which represents less than 1% of that population. 3 10th graders, which again is less than 1% of that population at grade level. 8 11th graders, which is at 2%, and 8 12th graders, which is at 2%. So the way that we look at that is these students are dropped from Power School and there's no reason given. Sometimes there will be, we don't know. These are the lost students that we have. And this is a concern nationally that happens. As noted in academic research, chronic absenteeism in younger grades is one of the most important determinants regarding school dropout by a child's senior year. And you can see it progress as students go into the 12th grade. CNP principals at all of the sites are working diligently to reduce chronic absenteeism numbers, but I am happy to report that Choctaw-Nakoma Park's dropout numbers are much better than state averages, which were at 2.4% for the 2018 school year, and substantially better than national dropout levels, which were at 15.4% the last given year available, which was 2017. So we are better than the state average, but we are so much better than the national average. And we, the thing to remember is there's always a child attached to that number. So we worry about those kids. You know, they've gone through our system, and yet them, and we just always wonder and worry. So we are constantly doing everything that we can to make sure that we improve on that number. So I do recommend-
we get some of these kids into our CAP program?
By the time they're a dropout, Liz, in the 12th grade, usually not. But fortunately, that's what keeps our dropout numbers so low, is that we do have CAPs. And I am so happy that we offer that program for many of our students who would never receive a high school diploma without that.
That's right. Thanks, Jean Ann. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make the approve.
A second? All right, thank you. Elizabeth?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Daryl?
Yes.
Pamela?
Yes.
Thank you. Chair votes yes. I know it's so far down there. Sorry, Daryl. All right, we have item C, a report by Donna O'Neill, the principal.
I think Donna is going to talk about some great programs that they have at Choctaw Middle School.
Yes, I would love to. Welcome to Choctaw Middle School, and we're very proud to have you guys here and get a chance to show off our beautiful building and our facilities here. And I hope that you noticed when you came in, some of our students' artwork out there, and it's a little hard not to. But anyway, we're very proud of all of our fine arts programs here. They do an outstanding job. We have the art program, we have choir, band, speech and drama, and I'm sure I forgot some that I'll be in trouble for tomorrow. But the thing that Ms. Hofford had kind of made an introduction last board meeting about a program we have here that this kind of segues into it. Our arts program, we have a high number of special needs students in our building. And we have for mid-level, we have the autism program and the severe program in our building. And so with that population, sometimes you run out of electives for those kids to be able to participate in. You know, we have our PE, and we always have an adaptive PE within our PE, but some kids, that's just not their thing, you know. But with our arts, we have had our teachers, our art teacher has made special curriculum, so these kids, instead of an explore rotation where they just spend 6 weeks in a program, she's redesigned so they can spend their whole time in that program if that fits their needs and that's a good fit for them. And one program we had a new choir teacher, and we had some kids that were very musically inclined, but really they didn't fit with the traditional choir and maybe couldn't participate with the traditional traditional band. And so she got together with our counselor and they came up with a program. It's called Music Experience. And she went and borrowed instruments from, I think, JGI and IME that for the kids to use. And Kelly, what are the names of those instruments? Do you remember? They have a name. They're special designed instruments that these kids have the ability that they can play drums, maracas, triangles, that sort of thing. And so her and the counselor designed this program, and she wanted to give up one of her classes and make her 8th grade choir one large choir. So she takes the special needs kids, and they do all these amazing music things in there. They tap out rhythms. We have nonverbal kids. One day I was in there, I said, if you want your heart warmed, come and sit in that program for an hour. We had nonverbal kids in there that were just sitting, and one little girl was late, and she came flying in, and when he looked, he held his hand out to her, she grabbed it, they start tapping out rhythms together. And it's just kids that can't communicate, but they're communicating through music, and it's a beautiful thing. And our choir teacher left this year, the one that started this, so we were a little concerned that we were able to nab the student teacher that she had, and that was one of the first things she asked was, can I continue that program? So we felt very fortunate. And I was going to show you some videos, but I didn't know how many people would be here, and I didn't feel really comfortable showing some videos with the large crowd. But it's just a wonderful thing, and if you ever get the opportunity to stop in about 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you're out and about, come in, and I'd be glad to show you guys that, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. And Donna, thank you for hosting this evening. I know this is a lot of work for you, but we appreciate it greatly.
And we appreciate all you do.
Yes.
Very welcome. We appreciate you guys.
All right, our consent agenda item 9. Do I have a motion to approve collectively?
Move to approve as a group.
All right, second, please. Second. Sorry, Liz, I didn't hear you. Don?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Pamela?
Yes.
Darrell?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. All right. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
I will make the motion to go into executive session.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Pamela?
Yes.
Darrell?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. All right. Where are we holding executive?
In the media
Okay. In the media center.
It's a long